Hello everyone. As everyone knows, 2020 has been a scary year with the outbreak of COVID-19. The virus is extremely contagious and has spread to all parts of the world, including here in Hawaii. Us humans cannot stand to just stay inside all day and need to roam outside. We must do things like grocery shopping and walking around parks and such to keep our mental health in check. To prevent catching COVID-19, masks are worn. There are many different types of masks used during this pandemic, but people should know that there are different levels of efficacy of each type of mask against this virus. This presentation will show the best masks to use during this pandemic. Please enjoy. The mask's function. Masks have three main functions, which are filtration, water repellency, and electrostatic. Filtration prevents particles and viruses from entering your body through the mouth and nose. Water repellency is to keep germs from water-based substances away, for example, saliva, mucus from coughs and sneezes, from entering your body. Electrostatics help block out viruses and particles. Just so you know, more electrostatic, the better it is. There are many other important factors for a mask, such as elasticity of the loops of the mask, flame retardations, and the 5 Fs. We will explain the 5 Fs a little bit later in the video. Thank you. Why you, the consumer, should use the mask correctly. If a mask is not used correctly, it can make oneself and other people sick because the particles and viruses are not being properly blocked. Choosing the best mask also helps better protect yourself and others. Do not cause trouble for other people, and stay safe. Consumers' needs. Consumers would want a mask that is protective, available, comfortable, and fashionable. It needs to be protective, so it would protect them from virus and other particles. It has to be available because we must wear masks during these times so we don't get sick. Also, because medical and surgical masks get sold out sometimes. It has to be comfortable, or else no one would bother wearing them for a long time. You see people walking around without their masks on, it's because they find it uncomfortable. It also has to be fashionable because people do not want to look ugly during these times either. People always want to look their best. But please be careful because sometimes those fashionable masks, they're not very productive. For this presentation, we tested 4 different types of masks and their functionality. The first functionality was the elasticity of the ear loops, which we just stretch the ear loops and see how far it goes. The second step was to test the filtration, which we put a black sock on a vacuum, put the mask over it, and suck the cornstarch and then see if any cornstarch got stuck onto the black sock. The third thing we did was water repellency. We just placed water droplets onto the mask and see if the water will soak through or not. The next one was electrostatic, which we cut up a bunch of paper into very tiny pieces and just place the mask on top of the little papers and see if they stick. The fifth test we did was flame retardancy, which we just burned the mask. We only did this for the surgical one because it's obvious that cloth masks would burn. Here are the 4 types of masks I used. The first style is medical/surgical mask, which is a non-woven mask. The second style is my own mask, which is double weft knit. The third style is the H logo mask and its interlock. Style 4 is mask with center seam. It is also interlock. Here are my results for the medical/surgical masks. The elastic loops are good because they stretch a good amount. The filtration is a pass because no cornstarch went through. As you can see on the right, the black sock is completely clean. The water resistance is excellent, as you can also see on the right of the black sock. There is just the water bead on the mask and it's not soaking through. The electrostatic is also excellent, as you see the last picture below, that there are many pieces of little paper stuck onto the masks. The flame retardancy of this mask is quite interesting, as the outer shell burns the fastest out of all the 3 layers, and the inner lining burns the slowest. The 5 Fs stands for filtration, fluid resistance, features, fit, and feel. For the medical/surgical mask, the filtration is that no cornstarch went through the mask when doing the filtration test. For fluid resistancy, the drops of water sat upon the mask, thus the water is being repelled. For the features, it is a blue medical mask that can expand up to 16 centimeters. There is a plastic stick for the nose bridge, so the mask can block more space and help adjust towards one's nose shape. The fit is that the gaps on the face is all pretty much closed. There are just very little spaces between them so that we can breathe. The fit is pretty comfy, but the elastic loops may be a bother for someone if they have bigger ears or a face. People with glasses may also find this mask to be quite annoying because it may dry down their glasses. This is talking from personal experience. Here are the results for my own mask. The elastic loops are excellent, for they are adjustable and quite stretchy. The filtration was a fail, but it wasn't a total fail, for only a little bit of cornstarch went through. The water resistance, however, was a total fail, as water droplets just soaked through immediately when water drops were placed. The electrostatic was okay, it's quite good, 4 out of 5, because there wasn't as much tiny pieces of paper stuck on this mask as my surgical mask and another mask that we have yet to tell about. The flame retardancy is that the mask would obviously burn. It's cloth. What else do you expect? Here are the 5 F's for my own mask. For filtration, a bit of cornstarch went through the mask, but it's better than some other masks that were tested. It is better to use this mask in a low-risk area. The fluid resistancy is non-existent because the water droplets automatically soak through the mask. The features are adjustable loops, different layers, and extra fabric so it can be more adjusted for the face. As you can see on the right, the vertical photo, there's a little extra fabric on the chin area, so it's bigger. The fit is also very little gaps. The feel is quite comfortable for all users. The adjustable straps are good for people who have problems with ear loops, though it does get a little stuffy after a while. The H logo mask. The H logo mask elastic loops are extremely excellent, for they are very stretchy and very long. The filtration, though, was a fail, for a lot of cornstarch went through the mask and onto the black sock. The water resistance is quite fair, maybe like a one-time use thing, like if someone sneezes on you, you can just replace it right away. Yeah. As you can see on the right, the water looks like it's permeating through the mask, but it's still balancing on top of the mask, unlike my own mask, which the water just soaked through. The electrostatic is quite good, for there is a couple pieces of paper that have stuck onto the mask. The flame retardancy would be that it would burn. This is also cloth. The filtration for the H logo mask was terrible. Much cornstarch went through the mask, but not as much as the one with the seam in the middle, which would get onto the next slide. The fluid resistance was that it was okay. There is some water resistance. Initially, water drops just sit on the mask, but it will soak through in quite a little time. The features is that it's a black flat mask with a very long ear strings and has the UH Manoa H logo on it with white ink. The fit, it depends on how one adjusts the ear loops, because if you tie it too loosely, there will obviously be big gaps, but if you tie it too tightly, it'd be quite stuffy. For me, I have quite a small face, but it also feels kind of small to wear this. The strings are also annoying to deal with, for they are super long. The mask takes too long to put on because they're not like tied up ear loops, they're just strings. And it gets quite stuffy too after a while. And for the last mask, the mask with the center seam. The elastic loops on this is quite good. It could be stretchier, but it's like the surgical mask. It wouldn't be good for people with longer faces or bigger ears. The filtration was a total fail as so much cornstarch went through it, especially through the middle seams. The water resistance is quite good. It's a little bit better than the H logo mask. It sits there and it permeates through over time, but it takes longer to permeate through the fabric. The electrostatic was quite surprisingly very excellent, as it collected many pieces of tiny little papers. And once more, the flame retardancy is its cloth. It will burn. For the 5 F's of the mask with the center seam, the filtration is non-existent. Cornstarch goes through the seams a lot because if you pull them apart, they are actually tiny holes. The fluid resistancy is that there is some water repellency initially, but it does soak through the mask after some time. The feature is it's just a plain navy blue mask with a center seam. The fit, it also has little gaps for people to breathe, but the gaps do widen when yawning or opening the mouth. The size of the mask may be too small for people with bigger faces, and it does get stuffy as time goes by. As I was saying, it does get bigger, the gaps, when you open your mouth. So this is more suited for people with smaller faces. Here are some facts about masks. Medical/surgical masks are the best masks to block the virus, but they do not degrade easily and are highly disposable, so they have a terrible impact on the environment. Masks with seams in the middle tend to filter particles the worst. As you see on the picture on the right, if you pull them apart, they have little holes through them, so they have terrible filtration. Therefore, viruses, dust, and other particles can go through, so please be careful. When and where will we use these masks? For the medical and surgical masks, they are the most effective against the viruses, so these masks should be used when in areas with high risk of the virus. It is good to save them for the future, because COVID-19 cases will inevitably rise more in the future. For my own mask, it's better to use this mask briefly in low-risk areas or just for areas with dust because the water repellency for this mask is non-existent, and the filtration for this mask is not bad. Best to avoid people who are spraying their fluids. Watch out for coughers and sneezers, man. For the H logo mask, this mask should only be briefly used or used as a dust mask because the filtration is terrible on this one. Though it may have some water repellency to it, it's only good for like a one-time use thing. For the mask with the center seam, this mask should only be used as a fashion item, to be honest. The filtration is non-existent due to the seam in the center, which allows particles to enter easily through.